Hello everybody, this is John, your host on the Prepared Mind channel at Patreon. Welcome back. Thank you. We're going to start another very fascinating discussion piece here. Before I get started though, somehow the camera feature on my phone was completely and totally, utterly disabled. Took me close to 20 minutes to figure out how to get it turned back on. I've never done that before. Why would I do that to myself? Something interesting. Anyways, let's get on with the show. And again, here we are on Patreon, and I want to thank you guys for coming here. More on a personal level than a generic one. I know these are actual dollars that you've contributed, and they come directly from your pocket, not through you having to put up with commercials or anything else, and it's genuinely appreciated that you value the content of this show, and you value the preparedmind.club, and you value what it is we do here. So, we had something interesting happen just the other day, 2 days ago. There was a school shooting here in Northern California. Not too far from where I'm at, but far enough that, I'm not too worried about it either. A lot of strange shit happening here in California. So, before we get started, and like I said, not every day you'll be bored of truth. This is going to be the email of truth. You're going to love it. And today's scotch is brought to you by Glenn Fiddick, 21 year. More than happy to charge you out the wazoo for a finer taste. Anyways, I got an email yesterday, the day after the school shooting in California. And it came from none other than the Honorable Senator Dianne Feinstein, longtime Senator of California and one-time former prior mayor of the city and county, and they wish it was a state, of San Francisco. And what I'm going to put up in here on the video also are two quotes, video presentations of her, and they're very short. And I'm going to put them somewhere up here in the corner. We'll do screen and screen for you. No, never mind. I'll just let her cut me off and just talk right over me. One of the videos is going to be about her, talking about how she felt threatened. This is on a Senate committee, and how she had to defend herself, and how she understands the need and the feeling and what she did to get by. And then I'm going to play a video that comes later where she talks about how she's going to take everyone's guns. And if she had the votes in the Senate to do it, she would have done it. Anyways, I am here in California. And Senator Feinstein represents Californians. She doesn't represent me, but here she is. Anyways, from time to time, good old Senator Feinstein sends me an email, and I decided to print this one off for you guys. What she is about is more government, more entitlements, and less freedom. She's a Democrat, right? But what she sent me is basically an outline of her platform. But her headliner is November 14th, 2017. Common sense gun safety. Now, when we talk about common sense, and I say common sense to you, what do you think about? You go, well, common sense. And I know what you're thinking. That means just using everyday thinking. You don't have to use high-end philosophy. You don't have to have a college education. It's just easily understood from a rational, typical, logical perspective. So Senator Feinstein and people like Barack Insane Obama, they love to use that like they've got the common sense. And somehow we've just looked past it with all of our intellect. And if we just back our thinking back down to their level, we could probably get it. Right? It's their way of talking down to us, in other words. It's completely patronizing. And in fact, this video I couldn't have done on YouTube, because they would immediately censor it because of what I'm going to do and say and show in this video. Because we have common sense. Right? And I'm allowed to show what I'm going to show by law without worrying about any copyright infringement, because it's called Fair Use Act in the United States Code. Anyways, She starts with common sense gun safety. Senators introduce assault weapons ban November 8th, 2017. So 6 days before she sends this, 5 days before the actual school shooting, she writes, "We're introducing an updated assault weapons ban for one reason, so that after every mass shooting with a military-style assault weapon, the American people will know that a tool to reduce these massacres is sitting in the Senate, ready for debate and a vote." What is critical here is the timing. Number one, I don't believe in coincidences. Period. They write that there's one reason to have this assault weapons ban. It's not to stop shootings, not to stop terrorism, not to stop crime, not to protect you, your family, your children, your grandchildren. None of that. The one reason is so that after every mass shooting with a military-style assault weapon, the American people know that the Senate has something ready to screw us with. It says one reason. Let's take her at her word. Let's stay common sense. So that after every mass shooting, there is a bill ready to debate and vote. The one reason should be to stop crime. It's so simple. It is so clear. Now, first off, an assault weapon is a full auto weapon. We don't have those out here. Military style, who gives a shit what the style is? And we also know, if you take a look at the Charlie Hebdo shootings in France and everywhere else, the people that commit these mass shootings, these massacres, no matter where they're at in the world, do so with illegally obtained weapons, illegally modified weapons, weapons that are used for crimes. See, I don't have any problem with you having a military-style, full-auto weapon. I don't. I have no problem with that. Because I trust you. I trust you as an American to use your brain, to actually use common sense. You know, it's incredible to me that the hypocrite, which is going to become very clear when I show you this video. In fact, I'm probably going to show it right now.
And I know the sense of helplessness that people feel. I know the urge to arm yourself, because that's what I did. I was trained in firearms. I'd walk to the hospital when my husband was sick. I carried a concealed weapon. I made the determination that if somebody was going to try to take me out, I was going to take them with me. Now,
California Senator Dianne Feinstein worked for more than a year to get the assault weapons bill passed in the face of ferocious opposition from the National Rifle Association. She says she got the best she could.
If I could have gotten 51 votes in the Senate of the United States for an outright ban, picking up every one of them, Mr. and Mrs. America, turn them all in, I would have done it. I could not do that. The votes weren't here.
And now that we're done showing that, the hypocrite, Senator Feinstein, she thinks you don't have common sense and that you shouldn't be allowed to protect yourself. That the Second Amendment doesn't mean anything. And it's really not about protecting yourself just from criminals. It's about protecting yourself from all enemies, foreign and domestic, for protecting your nation. We have a duty to protect ourselves and our nation. And they want to take that from us. So common sense tells us why. Why do they want to take our ability to protect ourselves, protect our nation, protect our families, protect each other? Why do they want to take that from us? It's just one of those questions. Now, Senator Feinstein makes a comment on the Sutherland Springs shooting, which is November 5th, right? She writes, "When will this end?" There's a little quote around it, like she said the words. "When will we decide that we can't accept massacres in our places of worship, schools, or at concerts?" Question mark. Now, if that was released on November 5th and the school shooting came afterwards, we know about the concert in Las Vegas. We know about the places of worship because she's referring to it. Why is she referring to schools? There hadn't been any massacres in schools yet. Again, that raises my level of suspicion. I might even call that common sense. You know, but she asks, when will we decide that we can't accept massacres? Tell you what, I've already decided it. I don't accept them. I don't like them. I don't appreciate them. I don't encourage them. In no way and no how and not at all do I endorse in any fashion massacres. There's one particular shooting or massacre that comes to mind. It's called Kent State. It's where the government decided that they were going to massacre some people. You know, there's these other things called wars where entire armies are sent to massacre each other, while back at home, governments massacre their own people in the name of more government. And so you can quote Lenin and Stalin and Pol Pot and Chairman Mao and Stalin and Hitler and every other bad person that has used government power to massacre people in the millions. And Feinstein wants me to say, to believe that I have decided to accept them. No, I can't accept them. I don't want them. If everybody had a gun, was trained to use it, and forced to carry it, every criminal on the planet would know that if they dare try and use their gun for an illegal purpose, someone would be putting some hot lead in their ass, right? So this entire email is just loaded, it's chock full of bullshit. Because it's coming from Dianne Feinstein. She is a lifelong politician. Now, I've got something on my computer back here. And it's a picture of her husband, Richard Bloom. The headline is, Senator Dianne Feinstein's husband, Richard Bloom, grows fortune on the ruins of the American dream. This was at SanJoseInside.com. Now, coming from this multi-dollar studio, you notice I didn't say $1 million, this multi-dollar studio, the reason or the way I found out about Richard Bloom is I went on this interesting thing called Yahoo.com. I typed in Senator Dianne Feinstein's billionaire husband. I clicked enter, and up came numerous stories about her husband. It's also my recollection that Mr. Bloom is the benefactor, the recipient, the awardee of many government contracts. Interesting how he makes billions of dollars and his wife is a senator. Incredible. She's feathering her nest, is she not? That would be common sense based on what we know, you know, and I know about politicians and lawyers. Alrighty. So, story 1, common sense gun safety. Story 2, accepting massacres or not. I don't think any one of you would accept a massacre. So, we've done that, and guess what? We didn't even need legislation for that. But we're supposed to not accept massacres and then accept her idea about how to avoid them. Feinstein supports expanded background checks. More common sense, she writes. Closing the glaring loophole in the background check process. I gotta tell you, I don't know about any glaring loopholes. All right. Let's go to the last page, just because I want to point out how ridiculous these politicians are these days. November 2nd, 2017. Feinstein urges Department of Justice to protect transgender workers from discrimination. Title 7 of the Act, Title 7 of the Civil Rights Act does not prohibit discrimination based on gender identity. You see, they're pushing this social crap at us. I'm supposed to accept if you are a man, that means you have a penis and testicles. I'm supposed to accept that if you call yourself a dog, a tree, a fire hydrant, a car, a mountain, that I'm supposed to accept that. I'm supposed to accept that you not understanding who and what you are, entitles you to special rights and privileges. That I have to accept that you're not loony and screwy in the head, and you're not full, just chock full, common sense understanding, chock full of psychological problems. Why would I want someone, this is just a general question. It's a question I like to ask myself. I like to ask it philosophically. John, why wouldn't you want someone who has gender identity issues at my place of work? John, why would you have a problem with a transgender in your workplace? Now, if there are transgenders in my workplace, I don't know about it. I don't want to know about it. I don't want to fucking hear about it on a daily basis. I'm sick of hearing about it. It's so simple. If you're transgender, be what you think you are and shut the fuck up. But don't come in as a man one day, a woman the next, and dressed as a tree the third day and expect me to continually have to put up with all that shit. It's distracting. I go to work to produce a product or service. It's not about someone's transgender issue and other social issues brought into the workplace. We used to call that drama. See, Dianne Feinstein wants to use a common sense approach, which is to take away your ability to think about what's best for your workplace. Do you want a bunch of drama-filled Fruit Loops? And I'm not saying all transgenders are Fruit Loops, but if they're making it a point of hiring them so that you have to hire them, that is to say, they go, well, guess what, I'm transgender, and you're like, oh, so now I have to hire you, otherwise you're going to claim I'm discriminating against you on the grounds of the fact that you are a transgender. How about this? I'm not hiring you because you're a Fruit Loop making an issue out of nothing and making me have to choke down your social position and your gender confusion. I wish I could say those sorts of things. But people don't sit across the desk from me and tell me that they're a tree. They just don't do it. But Feinstein, this is the type of shit she's into. Right? Anyways. Remember when I did the little talk about corporations and countries and politicians? They want a return on investment. They want to enrich themselves by interfering and involving themselves in our financial system, in our politics. Dianne Feinstein has spent her life, her career, looking out for numero uno, herself, and enriching numero due, her husband, making sure he is taken care of and he gets a good break. All of these politicians seem to be doing that. What is important to realize is who Senator Feinstein is and who are all these politicians that are about gun control. You see, I believe shit is going to hit the fan. And they're going to want in place some common sense legislation so that if we get some shit it's the fan going, some hot spots, let's say Detroit, Atlanta, Houston, Los Angeles, Portland, and several other cities go up in smoke. They're going to say, hey, we got to put an end to all these guns out there. We're having way too many problems. We've got some common sense fix for you right here. Right? So their answer is to pass a law and then have someone show up at your house, knock on your door, ask for your guns while they point their guns at you and say, turn them in. How do you like them apples? That sounds pretty much common sense, doesn't it? Because the government always knows best. And it's my understanding, my recollection, that every instance where the government says, we're here for the guns, the very next move for them is to round up political dissidents. That is, their opponents, their non-common sense opponents, and arrest them and throw them in internment camps, prisons, or just execute them. I don't think that that's a flavor of ice cream I want to sample. No, sir. I think gun confiscation is a bad idea. I don't think mandatory surrender of our firearms is in our national best interest or our political best interest or in our personal best interest, especially at times of imminent threat and danger. And this is one of those times. There is an imminent threat of being attacked by our nation's enemies. There is an imminent threat of being attacked by terrorists from within. There is an imminent threat of a total and absolute collapse within our nation of the financial, political, and social system. Being in such condition, it would be highly irresponsible of us to turn in our weapons. It would be irresponsible to us, our families, our groups, our prepper groups, our communities, and our nation at large. Don't do it. We can try and vote these clowns out. Senator Feinstein, right? There's no way to get rid of her. She's like really bad foot fungus, right? Sometimes you forget about her, but she's always there. Right there, irritating your skin. She gets under your skin. Anyways, gun confiscation is always a subject, and they're always ready with legislation. When you start seeing things like the Las Vegas shooting, the church shooting, the school shooting, it's funny how these terrorists, these supposed terrorists, these bad guys, always attack us in the places that mean the most to us. Right? You never hear about them going in and shooting up the IRS. Right? There was that one guy, though, who flew an airplane into the IRS building, I think in Colorado. That was a number of years back. But it's important to note that they've never forgotten. Don't make the mistake of thinking they've forgotten about your guns. They never do. They never forget. There's always legislation waiting. And they're waiting to pass it and enact it in a national emergency when public outrage and fear will drive them to say we had to do it for the good of the public, for the good of the nation. And I can tell you right now, a slow-moving, slow-growing, zombie-like shit-it's-the-fan scenario is one of those situations they would love to put that out and get people to surrender their firearms en masse. Willingly, gladly. But for all of you red-blooded Americans who know better, who actually have common sense, I recommend you watch them close and you understand the peril you face because we're preppers. Now, on the preparedmind.club, I don't sell guns, I can't. But there are a couple links to companies that do. So you can scroll down the main page there at the preparedmind.club and you can get guns and ammunition. You can get body armor to protect you from being shot at. You can get antibiotics. You can get all sorts of prepper supplies because we need food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, and a means of self-defense. We need those things because of what is coming. And I keep having people from time to time ask me about gold and silver. And I'm going to give you my opinion very succinctly. If you have all of your preparation and needs met, food, shelter, water, right, medicine, clothing, means of self-defense, and you have your plan, and you still have money left over, and you don't need to help anyone else out, buy gold and silver physical. Buy it and store it in a vault somewhere nearby, under heavy guard. Bury it in a freaking coffee can in your backyard. Seriously, bury it in a coffee can. Bury it in someplace. How about this? A PVC tube. Go out, dig a nice hole, put your stuff in the ground, pat the dirt down, you're done. It would take a very special someone to find it. but it's a way to store wealth. Gold and silver is storage of wealth. If I'm going to recommend any company and I get zero kickbacks, American Precious Metals Exchange, www.apmex.com. They are, in my opinion, the best. And they pay me nothing. We contacted them and said, would you like to put a link on the website? And they said, no, thank you, we don't. We don't like doing those sorts of things. Okay then, but I still recommend them as a company. Right? Go to Facebook if you want some daily input. And also, right, just go to the club, the preparedmind.club, where we have Prepper Connect. You can meet other preppers in your area and form prepper groups. Right? Use at your own risk, just like everything else in your life. We have a forum there. We have a blog there. We're trying to get authors, bona fide legitimate authors, who are interested in publishing their books, to publish serial excerpts so their information can be spread. We're trying to use this system, the Prepared Mind trifecta of Facebook, Patreon, and the preparedmind.club to provide all the services and all of the outlets and all of the social media concepts available. We're trying to make that happen here, because I see YouTube at some point shutting down the system, shutting it down altogether, so that people can't get valuable information out. So we have preempted that, of course. I can say whatever the fuck I want, because if YouTube doesn't like it, I can store videos on another site. I can store them in my private server. I've got all kinds of options now. The only way they can shut me up is to shut down the entire internet itself and claim that I'm some sort of terrorist, when all in fact I'm doing is saying, protect yourself, because chance favors the prepared mind. Is yours. You guys be cool, and I'll talk to you again tomorrow.